11-year-old Iris and 9-year-old Luca are pretty proud of their guinea pigs and chickens.
Mine stays in. Coriander.
You stay in.
Mine, Coriander, she's such a clean chicken. If you look at her next to Luca's older bird, which is
Snowball. Tuck your wing in. But she's white, so she gets dirtier. They still have...
The girls live on a farm with their mum, Mez Wilson, and stepdad, Marshall Roberts. Recently, the beef cattle farmer has taken on an extra job.
Good.
Educating himself on the science of learning to read and spell.
That's why I've called myself the Angry Farmer, because I don't have time for this.
He's worked really, really hard at it. Took all hours of the morning for months and months.
So what kind is that?
The deep dive into literacy began after Iris was diagnosed with a learning disorder consistent with dyslexia.
We need to find a cure for...
Extra help at school wasn't working, so now the girls do home tutoring outside of school hours.
Click Grove June Clutch.
After much research, Marshall Roberts has taken a training course in a systematic approach to literacy teaching. It's based on the understanding that letters represent sounds and these phonics are the backbone of decoding new words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When it's followed by an I, E or Y.
Yes.
He says teaching the components of language in a structured, systematic and repetitive way is key.
Less like throwing a kid into a swimming pool and telling them to swim, and more like saying, okay, this is how the stroke works, and what we're going to do is once you've got that stroke working, we're going to show you how to put your head in the water and then breathe either side and so on. So it's actually building on individual skills.
I think it helps a lot.
But this farmer's concerns go beyond his own family. He's worried many Australians are being let down when it comes to literacy education.
The situation is definitely disastrous. To me, it seems almost like willful neglect. I mean, we're at least 40 years behind the science in some cases in terms of what's happening in classrooms.
Many classrooms use a balanced literacy approach, which also uses phonics, but in a less structured way. Children are more often exposed to repeated words, predictable sentences, and lots of pictures.
It can involve some direct teaching of what sounds make what letters. It can include looking at a book and saying, oh, what do you think this book might be about? Let's have a guess. It can be guessing what a word might be on the basis of its first letter.
Associate Professor Nina Kemp is the co-editor of the UK-based Journal of Research in Reading. She says the science is clear.
A systematic, synthetic, direct approach definitely in all the research has been shown to give more improvements at the time and to be maintained years later than a balanced approach.
Marshall Roberts has started a petition calling on the Tasmanian government to listen to the science when it comes to literacy teaching.
There's a large percentage of kids who will learn under the current models, but there's an almost equally as large percentage who won't and will therefore have lifelong problems. Teaching the small parts of language is harmful to none, beneficial for all and crucial for some. So it's certainly not just about dyslexia.
The latest international study in 2012 found 40 to 50% of Australians aged between 15 and 74 are functionally illiterate. That means being able to read at a basic level, but difficulty with everyday tasks, like understanding the instructions on a medicine bottle or working out when the next bus will arrive on a weekend or evening.
If you can't read stuff, then you're highly disadvantaged. If you can't read properly, life is much more difficult for you as a person and all your family than if you can read fluently and easily.
Marshall Roberts is considering embarking on a class action against the Department of Education in Tasmania.
I think it's a travesty, really, given what we know and the fact that this is the Education Department's main job and the fact that parents legally have to send their children to school and that we're paying for it.
Tasmania has one of the lowest literacy rates in the country. Its Education Department says it's committed to improvements, with a focus on the years before school and an evidence-based curriculum that includes the systematic approach.
The teachers and support staff in our schools are doing the best they can to try and make sure that the literacy levels are on the increase. What we need to make sure we do is we've got a government who's prepared to fund resourcing.
Snap, rabbit, the mesh.
Marshall Roberts and Mez Wilson know that not every family has the time or capacity to take on home tutoring. And while they're hopeful their campaign will see changes in the classroom, they're certainly seeing changes at home.
I'm so proud of Marshall and Iris both, and Luca as well. Oh yeah. I feel like we are in this incredible position of being able to do this for our family.
It brings tears to my eyes, like, literally. Like sometimes she cracks a word or a sentence, a whole sentence with not a mistake in it.
Beautiful.
And it's just literally, I well up and I've got to concentrate to get through the end of the lesson.